Yeah, I've been good. Uh, Welcome to the Joey's Movie Blog podcast. I'm your host, Joey Strandberg, and uh, we finally got possibly the best video game adaptation of all time. So, and I'm not alone. I am joined by Frederick Lopez. So, how are you doing today?
Doing good. Yeah, I agree with you. An adaptation to The Last of Us has to be the finest I've seen. We had some films and stuff and TV shows kind of break a little bit of the video game curse, but I think as far as adaptations go, this is the most faithful that I've seen so far, like ever, in my opinion. I
Yeah,
don't know. Like, because usually, like, they adapt it or it's like adapted very loosely, but like HBO just got things down to like scenery, mood, music that was just like the game. You could put it side by side and see where they got it from the video game. It's like seeing comic books come to life in a way. And I
yeah.
don't know, it's just great seeing the material handled with such care. I mean, I know you're an Uncharted fan. We had that movie last year.
Oh God.
I'm just saying, like, it could go like that, or like the original Super Mario Brothers, or some of the Resident Evils. We had Resident Evil on TV that it was entertaining in its own right, but it wasn't the video game. It was far from it. And to get something that's not only handled with care, but is written so well and stays true and honors the video game while also expanding upon it, is just a wonderful thing so far.
Yeah, it's just been it's so refreshing because we've gotten stuff like the Uncharted thing that basically was just a greatest hits montage of the and it felt like all four games just combined into one, but not really understanding what those moments meant. And then, Sonic, I really like the Sonic movies, and uh, this past summer we had the Resident Evil show, which I watched about two episodes of, and outside of Lance Riddick, it didn't do much for me. So,
No.
uh, yeah. But when it was announced they were doing a Last of Us show, I'm just like, oh. But then I saw that HBO was doing it, and the thing about HBO is that they don't just put stuff out there. Like if this was Netflix doing a Last of Us show, I think I'd be a little bit more hesitant going into it. But with HBO, it's like they've been all about their prestige for many years. And then not only do they have the person that wrote the video games writing the show, but they got Craig Mazin, who did Chernobyl and also Hangover 2 and 3. But uh, he really came into his own with Chernobyl. So hearing that he's taking the Last of Us show, The Last of Us, and putting it in an HBO show was great news. And then with the casting of Pedro Pascal as Joel and Bella Ramsey as Ellie, my excitement went even more through the roof. And then there's even casting choices that we haven't even seen yet that I'm still excited to see.
Some people even from the video game, like Troy Baker's in that role, and I think
Yeah.
the guy played Joel's brother. Like, there's going to be other people having different roles that are from video games.
We're getting some static from you.
Oh, some static.
Yeah.
Some static audio. How's it sound
That
now?
Key Sweet.
Let me try switching the audio. Maybe it's here. No, it's here. How does it sound now?
It's still staticky.
Static. Oh no. Oh no. Let me try it. Go to my sounds. Maybe I should switch microphones. What about now?
Still a bit staticky.
Oh no. Uh, hmm. I'm gonna try something real quick. If you
All
don't
right.
mind, let me get my earphones and see if it helps having like just the microphone, like the gaming headset. Just the microphone.
All right. Yeah.
Just so we can get some good audio. Just so we can get some good audio real quick. Okay. What about now?
Yeah, that sounds better.
Still static?
No static.
Okay.
And
Okay, good. There must be something with my other exterior microphone.
yeah, it's much better now. But like, like I've been very excited, like hearing that we got Nick Offerman playing Bill and how they're expanding that character story really excited me, and especially with how they expanded the story of just like the first like 2 hours of the game.
Yeah, because like it starts and it's like after the birthday, you're playing as the daughter at the home in the game, and this one shows you like the days, or should I say the day leading up to it, like them getting prepared for the birthday, everything that leads up to like the main event that we see like in the first 30 minutes of the video game. It was great seeing that explored, and then I thought it was kind of eerie. What did you think about John Hannah's little cameo at the beginning when the '60s footage of the talk show?
It just shows that like how like you could build tension just through the exposition of everything, and I heard some complaints about the talk show scene before the episode came out, but the way that like the I liked how like the cinematography, like as the tension was building, the camera was getting tighter and tighter on him, and it was just really well written and well acted, and I'm I'm very excited about the uh cold open that's going to be in next week's episode as well, to see what they're going to do with that. And then but like it just builds so much tension and made the audience scared before we even saw any of the infected.
Yeah, because
So,
it's like it could be a possible future. We were just kind of getting out of a pandemic these past couple of years, and it's like, well, if we're not careful, like another virus, something like this could happen. And seeing like this fungus spore, I mean, that's something that doesn't affect humans, but that's like a real thing that like affects ants, I think, or whatever. They actually like Naughty Dog and them base that off of like a real thing, but it just
yeah,
doesn't
like
affect humans. Like, it's just scary. Like, what if that happens? Like, that could be a possibility. That's, something about that is just it adds to like the hysteria and fears of like our current day, and it's like this could very well be us if we're not careful. But also, I think it helps us get engrossed into that world and just kind of brings us there of like, yeah, this could happen. What if it was like that? You get to see Joel and his daughter spend like what they don't know of to be like the last time they would ever have a day like that. And again, building tension and I don't know. There's some like small scares too. What did you think about like the next door neighbors and the elderly lady when she was like starting to turn like in the background? That was a crazy shot there.
I know this is going to be a weird comparison, but it kind of reminded me of Shaun of the Dead, where like
Yes,
he's so drunk that he doesn't even know what's going on, but like
he's just like
ev-
oblivious to everything that's like starting to happen. Like it's just happening all around him. Yeah, it was totally like that. It was totally like a riff on like the, I guess, survival zombie genre, I guess. But Shaun of the Dead, yeah, it's definitely like that. It reminded me a lot like that with like Joel's daughter. And then even like with like the jets and stuff, like in the air with the military, or like when she's getting the watch. It's just like little things that, I mean, if you played the game, you know like something's building up. But even as like a non-fan, I think people would enjoy to just know that like something's feeling a little bit off, and it's like slowly building up before we reach that like climatic opening of the video game. But yeah, I could definitely see the Shaun of the Dead comparison there.
yeah, but they did like it was just such a great like the first 30-minute, like the lead up to the outbreak day scene, like they did such a great job like building intrigue as to what's going on, like when she went to the shop to fix Joel's watch, and it just like the wife was getting paranoid and then forcing her to leave and everything. Uh it's like I could totally see like a new viewer everything like going like, what's going on, what's going on, and it like it's just like it's such a great way to like build intrigue as to what's going on, uh and then we eventually do get to outbreak day, and it's like they manage to capture like that feeling, like holy crap, something is happening. And then one thing I do like about this is how they just made it feel bigger.
Yes. I think the slow buildup helped with that. I think the slow, like, I don't know. For me personally, like, I live in Texas, so like, The Last of Us kind of scared me. So like, I'm familiar with the area it's in, and like, I-35 does get packed on rush hour. What happens when there's like a cataclysmic event? You're trying to leave and you can't, or like the military blocks you leave to a small town. But like the way they built it up, going from like the little things and then to like I guess the next door neighbor, that lady just attacking her family. Joel and them arriving. Explaining where Joel was, getting the brother out of jail. But the build-up just felt like it was getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and it felt very scary. Like, we were playing the video game, but like even playing the video gaming, knowing what was like happen, I still was on the edge of my seat that entire first half of the episode, first half of the episode, and then all the way to like the plane crash, and then all the way to like the plane crash, insane, just like insane, like them trying to drive, seeing all these people, them trying to drive, camera was just made it like feel like you're still in it. But I mean, you're not playing a video game; you're just watching it. But I mean, you're not playing that kind of version to it. It still had like the video game when you play it. Like the video game, it was a great sequence. I would say it was a
Yeah,
great sequence. I would say
I'm still getting some.
static.
Yeah,
Static. I don't know what's up with this. What's up with this? I don't know what's up with this. What's up with this? What's up with my computer? What's up with my
like it's
computer?
static and echo.
Static and echo. Uh-oh. Static and echo. Uh-oh. Uh, it was the microphone. I was on. Let me look at the settings here. My phone. I was on. Let me look at the settings here. My audio. What about now?
Yeah, that's much better. Okay.
Okay, I know what happened on the. I had like different settings on the computer, and then on StreamYard, it had like my webcam instead of the external mic, so it was picking up two
Oh.
audios. That's what happened. Hopefully that works. You may have to do some heavy editing.
Yeah.
But yeah, that like it just made it feel bigger, and it's a great feeling. Like I just wonder how people who've never played the game feel watching this episode, because it felt bigger to me, even playing the video game and knowing what was going to happen. I just can't imagine. Like I'm just trying to like put myself in the shoes of like people who are fresh and have not played any of the Last of Us video games, seeing this for the first time. And then, going to that famous moment, I thought the relationship with Joel and his daughter was very well done here. We actually got to spend more time than we did in the video game, because the video game, it's like it already started, but we got to see like almost a full day of like what that dynamic was like. And yeah, it almost makes it seem like they're going to be the two main characters in this show. And of course, that infamous moment happens. And I want to know, did you feel just as sad as you did when playing the game at the beginning? I know I did. I was just like, wow.
Yeah, like I was like this scene, like this was gonna be the like litmus test to see if like the emotional moments were gonna hit, because
Mhm.
a part of me was worried that it was gonna just feel like how like Lion King
Oh, yeah.
2019 felt, where it's like you just feel nothing because you just because it just feels like they're trying to replicate everything. But like
Right.
They did, but like Pedro Pascal and like nailed it, and even like the scene where like he called out his brother, and then his brother just goes
Yes.
look, and it's just, and he just gave it his all in that scene and poured his heart and soul into the crying and everything.
Yeah, and then his brother Gabriel Luna surprisingly sounded an awful lot like the voice actor from the game. Like that surprised me. I was just like, wow.
What's
And
funny
his
is that's
acting
just,
there.
yeah, what's
Um
funny is that's just his real voice.
I know. It's just like, but it's just like when you see like the Rev 9 or him as Ghost Rider on Agents of Shield, and then you just go to this, you're just like, oh wow. Like he showed a
Yeah,
lot of range, even with just facial expression, like you said when he said look, and like the brother knew that she was like a goner, you know. He's like, help, help, and he just has that face of like it's she's dead, basically. It's
yeah,
just a sad moment. But I'm story wise, I think it's a beautiful story because that kind of helps into the future storyline 20 years later down the road with Ellie's character, you know. And
yeah.
I love how they showcase this world with a time jump. It had the tone and feel of the video game. It really did.
Yeah, and then like uh, like we start the time jump with like this kid walking through the woods approaching the quarantine zone, and
Hmm.
then like they do all the tests on him, and then they show giving a shot, and then we cut to Joel and Tess played by Anna Torv burning bodies and seeing the kid's body, and it's just sets the tone for where the world's at. And then like uh you could tell like Joel just feels so numb to it all at this point.
Yeah, like I don't know. I can't imagine what a parent feels after losing a child, but like you can tell just in the time jump and just the way his performance is that he's been through a lot of stuff the past 2 decades. Like it's just like basically everyone's trying to survive each day at a time. There's like no way of life where people are like thriving and are happy in their own little areas. Like everybody's just trying to survive in this like harsh world where pretty much modern civilization collapsed, you know? Yeah, I that's
Yeah.
another thing I loved, how they expanded upon, like, the future world in itself because we didn't get to see a lot of that stuff in, like, the video game as far as, like, the beginning of it with, like, them testing, like, they did the kid and everything. You get to see it, like, all everything works, all the functions of, like, the modern world before we get to, like, our main story.
Yeah, and then like we see like Fedra hanging some people for like leaving the zone and everything, and it's just like, and like we got a bit of that in the game, but like it's something you could just easily walk past if you don't care about that stuff in video games.
Yeah. A lot of that too is just, like, how much are you gonna explore in a video game, you know? Some people just, like, go through the story, but there's, like, a lot of extra stuff, but here, I don't know, it's just, like, different seeing that, like, up front immediately, you know? And,
Yeah, like when you play like something like a Telltale game, like a common complaint I hear, but especially if like the Walking Dead ones, is that there that there's a lot of filler, and in like the Last of Us stuff, like in Last of Us Part Two, you could literally miss an entire cutscene if you don't explore a certain building.
yeah, so it's just, like, h how they do that is just incredible, and then going to Bella Ramsey, she's a much more, like, hard-boiled, take no prisoners kind of Ellie. Like, I mean, Ellie was like that in the game, but, like, at least in my memories, she seemed a little bit more innocent and more sheltered in a way where this Ellie's just, like you can tell she's been surviving in this, like, post-apocalyptic world for a while. She has more of an attitude, I feel, in the beginning.
Yeah, like they like a lot of people uh some people I think were fairly had were pretty fair in their concerns, but then then you just get to stuff that's just flat out gross about the things being said about
Yeah,
Bella Ramsey. But she immediately uh, made those concerns go to rest. And she, similar to how I feel Pedro Pascal did with Joel, she didn't feel like she was imitating Ashley Johnson's performance in the game, but she captured the essence while making the part her own.
very
And
much so.
that's where I actually feel that uh, while I personally would not have said this type of stuff in the marketing, but the I feel like that's probably the best. It was probably the best decision not to have her play the video games beforehand, so it didn't feel like you were imitating her performance.
Absolutely. And it's another challenging thing and a testament to how great the performances are here where like we play video games and the characters are characters, but like I guess us as players, we kind of put a little bit of ourselves into like the decision making and into the characters. It's like how do you do that when you take a character out and there isn't that immersive like player experience? They still have the essence of the characters in the video game, but then again make it their own and make it feel authentic to this world that is created. Very much
Yeah,
so.
and then one thing I was a bit weirded out by at first was how quickly they went through the Robert storyline.
Yes, that was very fast considering, like, all the time that was taken at the beginning, and then that storyline was just like,
Yeah, but at the same time, I realized that like the Robert section of the game isn't really that important. Like,
right.
it's not that important to as like them meeting Ellie and everything. So like, and it was pretty much just like a glorified tutorial. Like, we had to stop. We had to like stop by like a warehouse or something to learn to pick up our guns and then learn how to shoot and use melee weapons. Whereas, like, because the characters have lived in the world, we don't go through the tutorial stuff, and they just show up and Marlene and them just already murdered them.
Yeah, I didn't think about it that way of, like I guess it'd be like when you watch, like, the cutscenes on YouTube and, like, they just take out all the gameplay and you just see how fast everything goes. I think it's almost similar to that. But yeah, like, you wouldn't have to go through a tutorial since everybody's lived this world for, like, 20 years like you do in a game, so it's interesting seeing how they translate certain things that way.
Yeah, and then even like seeing the little glimpses of Joel and Ellie's relationship in the episode, like it's like you could tell that like Joel and like is trying so hard not to get attached that it just feels even more adorable in the show than it did the game.
Absolutely, like, when they go into, like, the little safe house area, and it's like it was the Billboard, top Billboard 100 hits or whatever she had a book of. It's like, "What am I supposed to do?" It's like, "You'll figure that out," or whatever, and he's taking a nap.
Yeah,
And that part reminded me a little bit of the game as far as, like, the cinematography. It's crazy seeing, like, the visual moments that they translate from the video game. But even just
yeah,
that, like, banter between them, and then her trying to figure out what the '80s means, like, if it's trouble or whatever on, like, the radio stations. That was
yeah,
such a
and
great moment between them both.
I guess it also one change I guess I noticed that is that I guess that Joel and Tess know Frank because
Yeah.
yeah, so I get my guess is that Frank is uh alive up in like because like my prediction is that Frank is probably gonna be dead by the time we Joel and Ellie go to Bill's town. but they it looks like that they know who Frank is because Ellie's like, "Who's Bill and Frank?" And then they have like the radio thing that they use for signals, and '80s means trouble.
Which ties back beautifully at the end, but we'll get there later. Like,
Yeah.
I love that.
Future filmmaker reviews with Joshua has come in the chat. Hello. Uh,
Hey,
but I also, but like going back to like Marlene, who's played by the uh, same actress from the video games. We get a little bit more expansion on what her main mission is, and then like and they even I'm really excited to hear that like it seems like they're going to be expanding on her and Ellie's relationship in the game in the show, where in the games we get hints at, but I guess it means that the American Dream comic book they because like in the American Dream comic book they had already met and all of this was explained, but it's kind of explained that like Marlene had put Ellie there, and then in the uh video game the basic story is that like Marlene knew Ellie's mom Anna, who in the show is going to be played by Ashley Johnson, who obviously
oh
voiced
wow,
Ellie in the game. So, and uh, it looks like we're gonna get to see a bit more of that in there, and then obviously they are adapting Left Behind, which honestly should probably be just edited into the game at this point because of how important it is.
absolutely. It's great seeing how they're gonna do this like episodically, and I wonder. They said the first season's gonna definitely be the first game, but I wonder if it's gonna be like the whole game in the first season, or if it's gonna be like split up into 2 seasons with like the first game. That
I
makes
got a
me
feeling. I got a feeling that it's gonna be the whole game it, because we've seen so much like like from the trailers. It's like we kind of see the like in the last trailer they released like on the weeks ahead for The Last of Us. We did see Joel in what looked like to be the hospital, but who
Oh, so yeah,
knows?
they might just cover the whole first game then.
Yeah, I did hear that Craig Mason's going to adapt the second game into multiple seasons, which is probably for the best considering
That
how
one's a bit more
big.
controversial.
Yeah, yeah. The I'm one of those people that really likes Last of Us Part Two, but
Don't get
I
attached to
already.
anyone too soon. No.
But it it but
That's a
it. What were you saying?
Oh, no, I was about to say, like, Last of Us 2 is still like a great story about not only surviving in this world, but like what revenge or violence does to like an individual and like the vicious cycle it can be. Like, it's an underrated theme
Yeah,
about that video game, I feel. But it'd be
and
interesting to
then
see how they explore it. Oh,
yeah, but like even just like it's like they managed to make everything just feel so human in the show. Like we even get a bit of an expansion with like uh Tess and Joel's relationship, where like it's only hinted at in the game that they're romantically interested, but Tess like crawls into bed with him, so it's pretty much confirmed that they're together.
yeah.
And I also found it interesting how like they're uh instead of going after guns, like chasing after Robert because of their guns, they're going after a car battery.
Yeah, something that's very interesting on that change, but also just adds more to like the predicament they're in this world they're at. Something as simple as a
Yeah.
car battery, but that's probably like a commodity in this world the way it is.
Well, like in the world of The Last of Us, the only ones making new car batteries are the military.
Yeah.
So like they're really hard to come by. And then
So I see a
uh
lot of them on horseback later on in the game. They're just like on
yeah.
horses.
And we hardly even see vehicles in like Last of Us 2, they use horseback a lot. Like they don't even take vehicles. But when you get to like the WLF, they have fully functioning vehicles.
Yeah, I still need to play Last of Us Part 2. I haven't played that one yet, but like I've seen a lot. But it's something I'm interested in playing before the new season, but also seeing how they're adapting this game, but then also like the breadcrumbs are going to be leaving for part two, knowing that that's going to be an adaptation and that they're just going to do the video games. I saw in an interview like they're not going to pull a Game of Thrones and like adapt beyond the source material. They're just going to adapt the video games and that's it. And
Yeah.
I'm great with that. It's a wonderful story as is.
Or like with Walking Dead, where like
Oh yeah,
the
that went on
yeah
forever.
they
That show's still on
really
now.
oh no, they
They went
actually
on.
ended it.
I know,
And
like, barely, like, for real last year, like, I remember that, but I was just like, "That show is still on? I thought it ended, like, 5 years ago. Wow, I'm behind." It's
yeah,
like I kinda
well
stopped after Negan.
it ended, but then they had to set up their spin-offs.
Oh, yeah.
But like they it got to a point where like they really angered comic fans and even the comic creator
Oh, wow.
because they just kept straying away, like killing off a character before their like killing off like the son of the main character, where like in the comic books he goes on to live a happy life 20 years later. And it's just and it's gotten to the point where like they tick the AMC had ticked off the creator so much that there's a lawsuit between them
Oh my
now.
god. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, wow,
And
wow.
I just hope that HBO doesn't do to Craig Mazin what AMC did to Frank Darabont.
Right. Especially now that it's, like, becoming a hit. I think it was, like, the 2nd highest viewed premiere in, like, since 2010 or something on HBO.
Yeah,
Almost, like,
and
5,000,000 viewers.
yeah, it's crazy how successful it's been. And I HBO doesn't seem like the type of person or the type of company that uh that just leaves their creators to dry.
No.
And but like with it seems like they have a pretty clear vision of where the show is going, which is so refreshing. When we go on and have stuff like Grey's Anatomy that doesn't even
Oh
have an
god.
ending planned.
That's another show that's gone on long. That was, like, back when I was, like, in high school. My mom
Yeah, and
even stopped
even
watching that show, like, it's gone on a long time, let me tell you.
yeah, and also just stuff like the MCU not even having an ending in sight, or it's like it's so refreshing to know that like this is a creative driven show. So
Absolutely.
and it's just really refreshing to because I've been so burnt out by a lot of like the Disney Plus shows have don't even hardly feel like TV shows now. It's like they always start off strong, but it's always like, especially if like the 6 episode series, the fourth episode just pat is just there to be padded out, and then they all meander and then have to rush that ending.
Absolutely. Like some of the Disney shows either like go on too long or they feel like there could have been 2-hour movies that were just stretched out. Like you said, the middle just feels like it was stretched out and then we have to get to the ending.
Yeah,
And
like Kenobi I enjoy a lot of, but then there's also just like some, it's just not that well structured, and then you and then like the fourth episode just feels like a repeat of the second episode and then
absolutely, you get to like multiple stories. I mean, multiple episodes, and the characters are still in the same place they were like 2 episodes back. And like, there's like no progression. I mean, there's like stuff happening, but it doesn't feel like there's like a story arc or a character arc going on. You know,
yeah.
on some of the shows where it's just, it's nice to see Last of Us like not only have a vision in that regard, but also end it with the source material, but ending on a high. Because some shows start off strong and then they just
Yeah.
keep going where it really ruins a good thing. So it's nice to know that The Last of Us has like a finite plan of like beginning, middle, and an end and where it's going.
Yeah, like it's just gonna adapt the first two games, and if they make a third one, they'll adapt that. So uh but the but like once we leave the safe house building, it's like the production design of the show just is breathtaking. Like it, I mean, it genuinely looks like how I imagine a post-apocalyptic city to look.
Yeah, like it looks just like, I mean, they recreate certain iconic moments from the game. You know, like the two building scene at like the ending, but also just like they showed it like when they're traveling and then when the kid was introduced when they jump forward 20 years. It looks like a place that hasn't been really lived much, that is just like overgrown with nature. It's just been abandoned. Like it looks like the fall of modern civilization. It's like I Am Legend on steroids, you know. And that's how
Yeah,
like The Last of Us would look, or should I say, like you said, a post-apocalyptic world. It just feels so authentic of like, yeah, that probably would look like that if a virus hit that was like a fungus, and you know, we had to fight for survival. Nothing was really kept up, and here's what would happen in 20 years.
yeah, and the other thing is like the soldier they encounter leaving the zone, Joel had been making deals with earlier, and
Mm-hmm.
uh just to get drugs, uh and then they meet again and they're trying to bribe him, and
This is like,
then
it's like half of it. No, I want it all. you know,
yeah, and then Ellie uh just stabs him in the leg, and then uh my the this scene, I like the soldier encounter more in this than I do the video game, where like uh they're encountered with like an assault rifle with a flashlight, and then it triggers Joel, and then he just goes full like Batfleck Batman on him.
yeah, I love that. And the editing there of like how they showed flashes of what happened earlier with his daughter with that, and then he just goes and just starts beating this guy up to a pulp. And that reveal, of course, with Ellie, I mean, as the gamers, we know what happens, that she's infected. I feel like that reveal was just a little bit longer in the game, but it was still like a cool moment because even Joel's like, "What? You're infected?" And it's like, "Who cares? Let's move on." But
Yeah, and I feel like we're gonna sit more with that in the next episode.
absolutely, absolutely, that's going to be like a good starting point for episode 2. But that scene, the way it was handled, was not only just like the video game, like so many other moments in this pilot. It goes to why I love this story with the video game and why I think I'm gonna love it here is that this is kind of his like redemption for what happened with his daughter. You know, taking care of Ellie's and it'd be kind of like a Logan-esque type of movie or like him protecting is it's almost like penance for what happened to his daughter dying. He sees a little bit of that. Their relationship's kind of like I'm like a parent to this kid now. I have to basically protect her for like the mission ahead. And it's gonna be great seeing that explored not only with their relationship, but the dangers they're gonna have to encounter in the season to come here.
Yeah, and then we just end with that fantastic shot of the buildings and the lightning,
And
and
then
then
the
like
80s
the
music was playing for
yeah.
Trouble.
So, and that means two things: Bill and Frank are in trouble, and so are Joel, Ellie, and Tess.
Yep. I loved how it ended. I was like, it's gonna end there. I wanted more. Like I want to see
I
episode
know.
2 like right now. This is gonna be if they continue down this way, I think this might be the best video game adaptation we have ever gotten in like live action. As
Yeah.
far as like being exactly like the game. You know, I said earlier there's like adaptations before, but none that were like, here's this just ripped from the game and translated onto live action.
Yeah, and I feel like that's kind of a mistake where like a lot of them make. Like a lot of people were all like, but the Uncharted plane sequences ripped exactly out of the game, but reality
Yeah.
like it may have some visual cues to it, but like it's like in the game it feel the stakes are more there because like he's like trying to climb up, but then Tom in the Uncharted movie he's just jumping like Spider-Man.
Yeah, the context isn't there with the story, and that's one brilliant thing with The Last of Us. Some of these other games, like video game adaptations, it's almost like when you read novel adaptations and they try to combine like 2 or 3 books into one movie, and it's like you're just taking pieces and putting it together, but you're not taking what the context and what the story was, you know? And that's what I think this show does very well is that it takes a story and the context of everything and translates it where again, like you said, a lot of them have the moments, but they're just not it. I mean, like Tom Holland going Spider-Man above water isn't the same as Nathan Drake in the video game climbing up somewhere, then fighting and then falling, but he's on a desert instead of like an ocean of water, you know? It's like a different context.
Yeah, and then uh but like this just feels like it's made by someone that played the game but also understands it. And then I
Right.
also think bringing in Neil Druckmann was like it's something that I don't know why adaptations don't do, where they actually
Bring in the
bring
creator.
in
Yeah.
yeah, and then like even like reading like the issues that Sony had or like the issues he had with Sony trying to get it into a movie. It's like we could have gotten a complete and total disaster. Like, because like he wanted No Country for Old Men, but they wanted World War Z.
Oh man, those are two completely different things. Like, and I
Yeah,
don't think you have enough time in a movie. Like, it would have been kind of like rushed. It would have been those
yeah,
highlights where a TV show, or should I say, like a miniseries, like on HBO, could have enough time. When you watch all the episodes, it's like one long movie, one long experience, like the video game.
yeah. It would have just felt like Justice League, where it just feels like they took an axe and chopped it up and kind of just a, served us a story with no connective pieces.
Right. It
And
definitely
like,
thank God for HBO. That's all I have to say.
yeah, and then like I also just see a lot of talk about like how they're all like they should have just told a different story in the Last of Us universe, and it's like did you
No.
see what Resident Evil what happened
I
with
was about to
Resident
say that
Evil?
Resident Evil the last summer did that. For some reason, the movies and shows try to go post-apocalypse, even though that's never been in the video games. Let's do this, and
Yeah,
it's just like, no. They tried that before, it doesn't work, and then you have other shows like even The Witcher that start out pretty strong, kind of like the book and video games, and then start drifting from the source materials. It's like, no, just do what works. Just translate what's on screen. You know,
yeah, and now we got Liam Hemsworth.
I forgot about that. Yeah, we do. I don't know. We'll have to see how that is, but yeah, I don't know. It's funny because there have been some like decent adaptations before, but the bad definitely outweigh the good as far as like video game adaptations go. So it's really quite a miracle to see The Last of Us done this well, and I really hope that like the next couple of episodes, I think they will honestly after seeing the pilot, but like I feel like I really hope that they have the quality that this premiere episode had. Because if it does,
Yeah.
we may be seeing something special. This may be something special with this show.
Do you think that this is going to change how they approach video game adaptations?
Possibly, in a way, if this is successful. But it also depends on the creative people behind it and the studio and like what
Yeah.
happens. But like, it definitely allows an opportunity to start adapting this on the TV. We had a little bit in animation with like Castlevania on Netflix, but like live action wise, we really haven't had that outside The Witcher. But like, yeah, I think it will change in a way because now you don't have to force a story into a 2 hour movie. It's like, say, if you want to do a season or a couple of seasons, adapt it. That would be interesting. I know we had like very, very far back in the day, Mortal Kombat Conquest in the late 90s. It was good for its day, but it's really cheesy by today's standards. But that was like a prequel to Mortal Kombat. And it'd be interesting to see them like try to do a TV show, but in the vein of Last of Us with a quality. But yeah, it's an interesting question. I think it could change the way they approach video game adaptations. Hopefully, um, I don't know if all of them are going to be done as well as this show is so far. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, it's kind of tough to tell because, like, we get, oh, like, eh, it could go one or two ways. It completely changes how they realize, like, oh, yeah, maybe we should get people that actually understand the video games to write these things, or it's going to be like, quick, we need to turn this video game into a TV show. And it's like that's how it's probably going to go with the God of War series they're doing.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
like it's going to start becoming like an imitation of like let's do what The Last of Us did, but then miss all the beats of what made The Last of Us a special adaptation. You know?
yeah, I'm not crazy about how like they're completely just skimming over the first three games and going straight into 2018 and Ragnarok. It's like it's like those games are great, but there's also some important lore that you shouldn't just that you need to
To
adapt.
understand Kratos, like his whole backstory.
Yeah, and then uh I mean we obviously had Halo this past year, and uh I've only seen one episode of it, but like I've just heard it gets completely worse.
Oh no. I haven't
Yeah,
seen it
like
all entirely. I heard about like Master Chief. He actually takes off his helmet.
yeah, like my brother watched it and said like it's like all the way like they don't do what they did in Mandalorian where like he's wearing his helmet often. He's hardly wears his helmet from what I've heard.
Oh man.
Yeah, and then
Oh, that's kind of different.
yeah, and then we see like his butt cheeks and just random butt shots of it, and it's just like what?
Okay, wow. Okay, I'm kind of glad I missed that one now and decided to catch The Last of Us after hearing that.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting to see how this changes studio's perception. Like, could they make a good Resident Evil series?
I
Like,
hope so. That one shouldn't be as hard as it is. Like, just make an indie movie or something in a haunted mansion with zombies. That's all. Just
yeah,
like one mansion.
it's baffling how hard it is to get that one right.
I'm like, there's so many survival. Like, hell, Shaun of the Dead was a better Resident Evil movie than some of the Resident Evil movies.
Yeah,
Just like, okay, there's a zombie apocalypse. What happens? We're gonna have a standoff in a bar here. It's like, okay, that could be Raccoon City for like a portion if they wanted to, you know.
yeah, and then uh, I mean, I know like this summer there, like I haven't played the Gran Turismo games, or
That's
game. I
right. There's
don't.
gonna be an adaptation with David Harbour and like Orlando Bloom.
Yeah, and
I
it's gonna be directed by Neil Blomkamp, who has one iconic movie and two movies that exist, and I guess he has a fourth movie, but no one talks about his fourth movie, and I don't even know what it's called.
I just know like District 9 and Chappie. And that was about it.
And Elysium. Have you seen Elysium?
Oh, never mind. I did see Elysium. I must have blocked that one from my mind at some point. What took me out of it was the guy healing from a grenade to the face. That's what kind of took me out of that movie. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
come on, man. I thought Matt Damon defeated this guy. This guy's going to come back after taking a grenade and it blew up his head. Like, really? Okay.
My dad has
How's,
joined the chat.
how's it going? Pretty good.
We just wrapped
Microphone's
up
working better now.
yeah. We just wrapped up talking about the episode, and we're kind of just talking about what's been going on with video game adaptations.
It seems like The Last of Us finally got it. So far, let's hope. I think the next couple of episodes will be just as good. I honestly
I
do.
mean, I've heard from people that have actually seen the first season that say like they actually nailed it, and like, and it's going to be so refreshing to you. Like, I'm excited to get some enhancements on like the hunters that are chasing Henry and Sam. Like, we're going to learn a bit more about the leader, who in this show is going to be played by Melanie Linsky.
Nice.
And then it looks like we're going to get some expansion on David's group. And yeah, I'm just really excited to see, like, I'm just glad that of all the video games they have screwed up in adaptations, or I hardly even call them adaptations, but uh, I'm just glad that Last of Us did not get the studio treatment.
Absolutely. I'm excited to see like the shots or should I say sequences that are going to be recreated. One of them is like that famous giraffe shot when Joel and
Oh
Ellie are
yeah,
there at that moment, and then even the stuff towards the end. I would love to see. And again, as you said earlier, they might have the hospital sequence. So it seems like they're going to cover the whole first game in this season. I cannot wait, especially with the hospital stuff, because I do know, and you know, because you've played the game, that some of those moments play a heavy part in the second one. So it's going to
yeah.
be nice seeing how they're going to leave breadcrumbs for the adaptation of part two moving forward.
I'm curious to know if we're gonna get a tease of Abby. Uh,
That'd be a good,
I
that'd be
just
something
hope
for like
it's
a cliffhanger
yeah. I
or
just
like a
hope it's not like a Marvel post credit scene where it's like, who's that Pokemon? And then she steps out the
oh.
shadows.
Abby smiles at the camera, just like Thanos at the end of Avengers. It's like just smiling. It'd be the video game Abby. That would be a way to mess with the fans. Just like here's a video game
Yeah.
Abby smiling. She's gonna be a completely digital character for part 2 now. But yeah, Pedro Pascal protecting a kid. I mean, we're gonna have Mandalorian season 3 coming out, and then Last of Us.
I gotta find. I gotta find this this image I found. Uh, so like obviously yesterday we got a Mandalorian season 3 poster, and uh uh I need.
We had the trailer on the NFL game, and is it like a meme with The Last of Us, or
Yeah, I'm trying to find my uh I'm trying. Oh, here we go. One second. I had to search through my Facebook just to find it, but
little Ellie?
yeah,
Mind The Last of Us. Oh my god,
yeah,
that's kind of funny. Oh man,
yeah.
even more so
It's
when she was just like a kid on Game of Thrones. Just thinking of that, it's just like,
yeah. The the Game of Thrones. She's certainly come a long way since playing little Lyanna Mormont on Game of Thrones, and it's great to see that she's getting work and she's doing excellent on the show.
yes, I'm glad she can like kind of put some of the haters' criticisms to rest now. Like now that we've seen it, it's just like, yeah, I can't wait to see more. Just from the little time we've gotten with her, like in the premiere episode, it'd be interesting to see her character explored more, and then the dynamic with like Joel and the other characters. And I wonder how the creatures are going to be. That's what I'm excited to see in their encounters, because there's a lot of dangerous elements in the video game that are going to be pretty scary if they adapt it right.
Yeah, like Melanie, wait, or the museum sequence, I think, is next week's episode. So
Ooh.
I'm very excited to see how they do that one, and they have just I have no words to describe how happy I am with this. I uh just yeah, I don't think I've. It's like it's also just funny how like both this and Velma came out the same week, and it's like you have one that actually cares about the fans, and then you have another one that takes time to trash its fans. It's like
It trashes its fans and it bastardizes source material, where this one does neither. And it's just a breath of fresh air to see something treated with respect, you know? And also the fans treat it with respect. But yeah, like just seeing certain moments from the video game, like, I mean, every one of us who've played the game, we imagine what it could look like if it was adapted to live action. But to actually see those moments was just like another worldly experience onto itself. And it put a smile on my face. I was just like, this is awesome. This is my new favorite show right now. Like, it just left me with just a sense of like joy that I haven't
yeah,
felt in a long time, especially with video game adaptations. I don't even know if I felt ever really. Like, there's been good ones. Like, I've liked Mortal Kombat and some of the other movies and the Sonics, but like something that's actually just like the video game, and they do the video game and put it onto live action. I've been waiting so long for them to just do that.
yeah. And I believe we're gonna wrap it up here. Come back next week for episode 2 hopefully we'll have some more people join us. But Frederick, where can everyone find you?
You can find me at Fred Film Fanatic at Instagram and at Frederick Lopez on YouTube.
All right. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.